everyone, it's me Blanche and welcome back to Feast in the Middle East. And today I'm super excited because I'm going to share with you a recipe that has been requested by many of you. So it's about time I shared this recipe. You want to know what it is? Well, stay tuned to find out. Okay, the recipe that I'm going to share with you today is for Labneh cheese. Labneh. Now, a lot of you might be aware of what Labneh is, but for those of you that have no idea what I'm talking about, Labneh cheese is basically sort of like a yogurt cream cheese. It's thick, creamy, slightly sour. The whey has been removed. It's sort of the Arab alternative to cream cheese. No Arabic breakfast is complete without it. I mean, if you go to Lebanon, Syria, Palestine, you will most likely see a tray of Labneh drizzled with some olive oil, along with some scrambled eggs, maybe some tomatoes, some cucumbers, some pickles. Labneh is where it's at, and it's surprisingly easy to make. Now, if you do see them in supermarkets, they usually come in a tub like this. Usually 1 pound tubs. And actually I even have a recipe on my channel in the dessert playlist for Lebanese cheesecake, where I actually make a cheesecake using this stuff, which works really well if you like just a slight sour flavor. What's cool about this cheese is it's actually rich in probiotics because you do use a yogurt starter in it, so that's how it's really different from cream cheese as well. It's even popular among the Greeks. Now, they use it in a couple of different ways. They might use it in tzatziki sauce, which is that cucumber dill sauce that's really popular, and I have my own version here on this channel. I call it dip so good you can bathe in it because it really is that good. And Greeks also use this as dessert. So they'll take a yogurt like this Labneh, drizzle honey over it with cinnamon, and maybe add walnuts or almonds or some other kind of nut, and it makes a really nice sort of dessert parfait. But you know what? I like it just plain. I like it with jam. I like it with pretty much anything. It's just so versatile with either sweet or savory treatments. After I teach you how to make this Labneh, you might never have to buy store-bought again. And if you've never purchased store-bought and this is your first experience with Labneh, you're gonna set a pretty high standard. So let's get rolling in the kitchen, guys. Okay, to get started, it's super simple. I've just got a pot here and I'm going to pour in an entire half gallon of organic whole milk. I really emphasize whole milk. You don't want skim milk or low-fat milk. Just get the real deal. Now I have it here on medium heat and we're going to heat it up until you could see it sort of frothing on the top, and it's going to rise in the pot. Now you want to turn it off before it just basically explodes out of the pot. All right, you see how it's getting puffy? We're going to turn it off before it gets completely boiled over. So as you can see, you see the froth on the top, but you don't see it frothing all the way. That's when we want to turn it off. And now what I'm going to do is leave it alone until all the steam goes away, because what I'm going to do is stir in some yogurt, but it has to be the perfect warmth. So you don't want to stir in the yogurt when it's scalding hot, because the yogurt cultures won't affect the milk. So you have to let it cool down for a little bit until you can at least put your pinky in there without burning your pinky off. So I'm going to time right now how long it's going to take to cool off. Okay, so I've let this cool down. I had to wait about 40 minutes to do the test. This is called the Teta test. You don't even need a thermometer. Basically, you stick your pinky in and you count to 10. So I'm going to count to 10 in Arabic just for you. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. And my pinky withstood 10 seconds. All right, so that is the pinky test, y'all. You just put your pinky in. If you could withstand the heat, that means it's time to stir in the yogurt, okay? I've got a half a cup of yogurt, so I'm just gonna mix that in. It's basically a yogurt starter. This is what's going to make the yogurt, or the milk rather, solidify before I strain it. So now I'm going to gently stir the yogurt in with the milk, and the cultures of the yogurt are going to interact with the milk. I'm not going to get all scientific with you guys, but you know, this is Teta style. This is just how we do. I'm just going to stir this up And then I have to cover the pot and put it somewhere warm for, I would say, a minimum of 7 hours. So you could do this before you go to bed and let the pot sit overnight outside somewhere warm, but not in a hot stove. Just gonna cover it. And I've got a nice warm blankie because, you know, pots need to be cozy and everything. So I'm just going to take a blanket over it like this. Do not put it over the flame. Turn off the flame, right? The flame's been turned off for a good 40 minutes. And so I'm going to check on this in about 7 hours or so.
8 hours later.
All right, so I let it sit under the warm blanket for about 8 hours. Now, the longer you leave this sitting under the blanket, the more sour it will become. So if you really like a sour flavor, you could leave it there for longer. But as you can see, like magic, it has solidified. It has solidified into a large block. You could leave it even longer. I mean, you could definitely leave this about 20 hours if you want to. So what I'm gonna do is just add like a half a teaspoon of salt for flavoring, and this will also help the milk drain once I put it in the sieve. Okay, now I'm going to stir it all together so that the salt is well incorporated. Okay, so now that we're done stirring that, I got a colander, like take a standard colander like this, and I lined it with a thin towel. You could use a cheesecloth, but I found a thin towel works best. The old school way, the tete way would be to actually put it in a pillowcase. So if you have a nice clean pillowcase, you could try that too. What we're gonna do is pour the yogurt mixture inside this. Okay, so pour it very carefully inside like this. Make sure you have a bowl under the colander to collect all of that excess whey. And now what we're gonna do is gently gather up the top, and I'm going to tie it off with a rubber band tightly. There we go, we've got like our little pouch like this. And I'm gonna put a rubber band around it, and we're just gonna leave it alone for another 24 hours. Now, like me, let's say you want a shortcut, right? You don't want to go through all those steps to make Labneh, but you want the awesome flavor. Guess what? You can do it with ready-made yogurt and forget the milk altogether. So take some whole milk regular yogurt, not Greek yogurt, because Greek yogurt is already pretty thick. Add like a half a teaspoon or a teaspoon of salt, right? Just to flavor it. You're gonna stir it all around. So as you can see, the yogurt is about the same texture as our milk mixture was. It's kind of got that kind of thick, creamy texture. And honestly, this saves a lot of time. And it still tastes better than store-bought. And you just do the same thing. You just tie it all around like this and add a rubber band and just wait for the magic to happen. And we're gonna check on this in 24 hours.
24 hours later.
Ready. Okay, so 1 day later, it's been 24 hours and I opened up the cloth and look what I found. So this is the one with the milk and the yogurt. This is a consistency that we want. And as for the one with the yogurt all by itself without the milk, this is what we've got. So it's even more pasty. This one's a little more sour and the other one's a little more sweet. So it really depends what you want. So the way we store it traditionally is we'll get a glass jar. First of all, you want to oil your hands with some olive oil because you don't want, you know, the Labneh to stick all over. And what you want to do is take it in your hands and sort of roll them into balls. It is a messy process, and then plop them in a jar. All right, so we're going to keep doing that. And I'm going to show you how I preserve the Labneh. All right, so what I did was I preserved these in Palestinian olive oil, which is my favorite. This is one of my favorites. People always ask me what's my favorite olive oil. I get it from Canaan Fair Trade. Canaan Fair Trade, they have the best, and it adds a beautiful flavor. But what you can also do is have fun with these. So here are some examples. So yeah, we've got all these colors. You could dip it in anything, pistachio nuts, sesame seeds, go crazy, take it where you want to take it. It's a super creative process. Okay guys, so now that you've seen how to make Labneh, here are some ideas of how, these are some of my favorite ideas. Now, you are not by any means restricted to how I prepare it. These are just serving suggestions, right? So I like, for savory treatments, I really like mint, tomato, and cucumber with the Labneh cheese, and I put them on these little toasts, maybe a little drizzle of olive oil and a dusting of pepper, which is awesome. Another great savory treatment is with avocado and some za'atar, because za'atar goes good with everything. Now, for sweet, this is a sort of spin-off on the Greek desserts. You know how the Greeks have yogurt with walnuts and honey and cinnamon. Now, this is my ultimate favorite just because it evokes a childhood memory of my grandmother and her apricot tree in Bethlehem. And what she used to do was she had this massive apricot tree, and she'd make jam every summer, and she put the jam in this big cauldron and start stirring it around, and I used to love helping her and eating the incredible apricot jam. This is like the ultimate sweet and sour at the same time. Wow, guys. Every time I eat this, I think of my childhood in Bethlehem and my grandmother's garden. It's just funny how sometimes you eat something and it'll immediately transport you back to another time in your life where you feel like you were almost in another world entirely. Like, that time of my life was so special and so precious. I wish I enjoyed it that much more, but this is kind of my way of reconnecting with that time. Now, if you enjoy Labneh, I would really love to know in the comments below, what are your favorite ways to eat it? Because there are so many different ways, and I'm sure some of you have a few tricks up your sleeve that you could share with us. And if you come from another culture where you have something similar, I would really love to hear about it. And please subscribe and hit that notification bell. And to all of you Patreons, I'm so grateful for your support. 100% of your contribution goes to my production crew. It doesn't go to me. I like to pay my production crew. So I want to do some more high-end productions in the future. So thank you, Patreons. I'm going to just finish this off now.